Hi, my name is Winsley, and welcome to my video guide on the new Toll of Seasons event in Age of Wonders 4, and how when you complete this event, you get the Defogged achievement on Steam. If we look over on this side of me, we'll see about 0.3% of players have been able to complete this achievement at the time of recording, so this should be about 10 days after we got the ability to complete this achievement, and about 10 days after the Eldritch Realms DLC launched. And that means a lot of people probably haven't seen the reward that you get from this event, and it is very cool. It's very silly and very fun. Basically, it will transform one of your heroes, not your ruler, into the Scourge that you've been fighting against on the map. So if you were fighting the Scourge of Winter, you'll get the Onka's chosen spell, but if you fight a Scourges of Autumn, then we'll get Luth's chosen. If we fight the Scourge of Summer, we'll get Ventrogh's chosen, and if we fight the Scourge of Spring, we'll get Ilandra's chosen, which pretty much all have the same result. The different Scourges will have different damage types that they deal, and they'll have a different presence trait, but all in all, this is pretty similar. One interesting thing I did notice when I was researching this is that there's only four chosen spells and there's only four types of winter fairies and four types of scourges. But as you can see here at the top, there's five images that have to do with the scourges that they posted in the art dev diary for Eldritch Realm. So if you think you know what the fifth one means, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Now, before we jump back to the beginning of the event chain, I did want to show off a little bit more about how the spell actually transforms your heroes, and how what you want to do is you want to get new heroes and then transform them into new things, because they don't keep their levels. They just basically turn into a new unit. And as you can see here, this is that Scourge that I mentioned earlier, the winter one that has the presence trait of sorrow, but he doesn't come in with any experience. He doesn't have any hero equipment. He is literally just this tier 5 mythic unit. So you can spend a lot of mana, a lot of casting points to turn some of your excess heroes, or maybe some of your new heroes that you just wanted to recruit simply to promote into this, because now I have, as you can see, the ability to get another hero, and theoretically I can use that hero in a few turns to turn into another Scourge of Winter, but it's expensive. It will take some time. And another thing I wanted to cover was the differences between the different scourges and their presence traits in a little bit more detail here. I know I've talked about it before on the channel, but I do think that these presence traits are quite unique and quite cool. This one gives wind barrier to all friendly units. That, I think, is my favorite. They all have the ability to dominate. This is a fantastic ability that all the scourges had. The summer one, the spring one, the winter one. They pretty much have the same things across their first three attacks, with the minor difference being the damage type they deal. This guy is going to deal frost. He does inflict despair, which I hadn't noticed until now. This one inflicts poison. This one inflicts burning, and this one inflicts electrified. So just at a glance, I feel like despair might be actually the best one, because the others are damage over times, whereas morale kind of affects a unit at the beginning of their turn versus at the end of their turn. And yeah, Presence of Sorrow is a morale drain. When this unit is in combat, all friendly units will have morale drain, leading to the enemies losing. It's kind of like the thing you get in Revelry. In fact, I think it's pretty much exactly the same as the thing you get in Revelry, Joy Siphoners, I believe it's called. Um, and then you get 30x damage when attacking units with the low morale. So I think you may, if you get the ability to use this, you may not need the tome that gives you the ability to do the same type of stuff. Um, don't think we looked at this giving frenzy to all units in combat. That's kind of good, I guess, but not nearly as useful as a Presence of Sorrow or the Wind Barrier, or even this Rally one is not bad, because this just means you'll keep stacking morale up over time. One more important thing to note is all these phantom charges actually have different status effects that they can apply. All of them deal damage in a 6 hex line, which means you can theoretically hit 6 enemies, although it's much more likely that you're going to hit 2 or 3 or maybe 4 that are all standing in a straight line. that and are reasonably close to your Scourge of the Summer. Because if you see this unit, you're probably gonna be aware that they can hit that many units on line, and you probably won't leave them to be picked off that way. Now, the status effect that goes on the Summer Scourge or the Scourge of the Summer is very powerful. I think it probably is the best one. Inflicting Insanity means that the enemies that get this triggered on them will spend their turn actually dealing damage to their old friendly units. So basically your enemies attack your own enemies, and it's better than if they are frozen, because if they're frozen, they're not using their actions to hurt their old friends, and that I would say is slightly worse. But one of the neat things about like frozen on this guy's phantom charge is when it fails, it inflicts them with slow. So there is a neat little interaction there for things like crypt blades. You can just like apply slow on a lot of units, and if they aren't frozen, then you just do extra damage to them. And then the Spring Fairy here, what's really interesting about this is it has two sets of effects. The weaken just happens for 3 turns. That's a lot of damage reduction on a lot of units, or at least theoretically it should be if they're all lined up in a straight line. And if you get decay, that means they can't heal. I don't know if this one makes sense to me based on the fact that this guy has frozen, this one has stun, and this one has insanity. Those in theory just seem generally better, but maybe I'm missing something about this whole interaction with the rest of what this unit does. Yeah, no, this guy has frenzy, the decaying and weakened. I just feel like generally he's weaker than the rest, but it's not like you get to choose these anyways. It's just being aware of what they can do when you can get access to them, or an enemy can use them against you, is worth taking into consideration. It is worth briefly mentioning that in order to complete this achievement and to get access to the spell we have been talking about, you will need to have the Eldritch Realms expansion for Age of Wonders 4, and you will need to turn on this complex realm trait, Toll of Seasons. Then when you reach the mid-game, which can be moved a little bit forward or a little bit back, but on this game I was using the default settings, and I believe it showed up on turn 40, and it attacked the strongest player on the map, or what it determined to be the strongest player on the map. If we go here, unfortunately I wasn't overall ranking 1 out of 4. I was 2 out of 4 when the game decided to bring in the first invasion. So we're going to have to wait a little bit for WhatsApp to actually deal with the invasion near him before it will actually appear over by us. So I'm just going to skip forward a little bit, but if, for example, it doesn't spawn on you, you just need to wait for the AI to take care of it, and then this will move over closer to one of your cities. You know, I actually didn't realize earlier when I was recording this that they actually destroyed that city. So we're on turn 52. I guess it took them 10 turns to actually do that. And now we have this event for us because we are now the strongest. We are getting the Toll of Winter attacking into our city of Pedestal, looks like. And we have a couple choices here. It looks great. I love this design. I kind of want to read through it all, but we don't need to. This says that we can either empty our treasury to get a lot of draft in that city, allowing us to build units there to fight off the enemy, or we can use mana and it will take 2 turns longer to get into pedestal. I think I saw one where I can make my walls weaker so that they attack sooner and I can just deal with them a little bit quicker, but that may come up later on after we've already fought them off. I think we'll just take this one. We'll just let them come to us and then fight them off, and I'll show you generally uh, how that goes in a few turns. If we go to pedestal here, we can see that it's looking like it's going to come out of either Sunshrine or right near Sunshrine. Looks like they just spawned in those 9 units and transformed the sector into winter or Arctic terrain. And now we have this little alluring voices event where it looks like they're singing to us, and we can actually choose to make it so that they break down our walls a little bit quicker. Yeah, as we can see here, we can wait 10 turns for our population to all be lost, which must have been what happened to the AI. I think I actually have the forces nearby to fight them off pretty easily. I'm just gonna bring my best units forward. Oh, this is probably fine with a little bit of support there. Now we can attack into this. And I did notice something interesting. If you are standing on the Fey Fissure that appears after this, then you won't be able to actually occupy it, or rather not occupy, you won't be able to enter the fissure. Right here it says occupied, but if I go through that event chain again, I think then I should be able to enter it. Yeah, like it doesn't matter how many guys I move around, that's just the little bug that you can run into. Alright, so I think this army is actually standing where the Fey Fissure appears, so if we just attack like this, we should be able to enter the Fey Fissure. Say no losses. Sure, we can lose a tier 1 here. So retreating mist is gonna give us the ability to go through a Fey Fissure in 3 turns. If we don't go in there, it will just disappear and um, it will appear in another city in this realm. Probably one of mine, since I'll still be the strongest. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't play around with that mechanic. But I know if you go in here and you beat them, then you get some pretty interesting choices with the other players and keeping stuff for yourself. Like if you want to get the chosen thing, you want to be greedy here. Um, Hopefully this goes well. Set the fissure, seal the fissure, and siphon the last droplets of Fey magic. No, 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 no. We want to go in here and we want to win. I definitely did the first time, so hopefully these guys have what they need to accomplish that mission right here. Uh, uh, maybe I need to bring you and the other hero instead of a tier 1 unit to make sure this goes as well as it could. You know, generally speaking, higher tier units are good, but let's just see. I can always reload. Yeah, we're stronger. We got a Mage Bane. Ah, we lost our tier 4. All right, well, we're just showing up basically what happens when you do this. You can either choose to take a relic. It's called the Eye of Onoka. I think it's Eye of whatever Scourge thing that you're trying to face off of. I guess this is some kind of spirit animal. I actually haven't read this too much. Fey trickery, your attention to a tree, a center of settlement, its heart rests an otherworldly relic. Relic radiates great power, Fey Fissure. Yeah, it doesn't tell us too much about these things here. If we wanted to, we could probably really dive into the menus and read about this. So homeworld, some of the most notorious creatures. Maybe this will be something they expand on in future DLCs if they ever get to it. I'd love that. The Fey are pretty interesting. All right, for people who care, there's more in here about the Godir and Duatha. That's I think we take the relic. We could break it and then uh, one of our guys is permanently turned into one of these special units. Kind of like the spell, but you only get to do it once. But it happens immediately. That's not terrible value. The only thing that I don't love about it is you don't really get to choose the hero. It's just like the closest one, and this one's level 8, so pretty good hero. I'm not sure what happens to their items. Or you could get yourself a bunch of Binding Essence. Like that is so much Binding Essence. 1,480 is like 3 or 4 of the highest tier items that you can craft in the game. Wow, and this one actually I hadn't even noticed gives you extra 15% knowledge per turn. And this special winterfreeze evocation siege project. That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Every 2 turns, somebody gets a chance to get frozen. If you hit them with something that reduces their status resistance, that sounds very powerful. So yeah, we're gonna click this button, and in a few turns, 10 turns, they're gonna come back and try to fight us for it, and we'll have access to the spell pretty soon after that. This is a really interesting event that you get between when you clear out the Fey Fissure and when the Fey are trying to invade your realm for a second time. After you've taken the relic, you can decide basically to return it to them to get them to attack any of the other players on the map. Right here, I have 3 choices for it to attack other players because this is a 4-player map. There's only 3 other potential opponents for it to go attack, and the 4th option is just to say, yeah, we don't care about peace with you. We can deal with your last invasion and then get the really good stuff that comes after that. When I was reading through this, I noticed that this person here is actually descended of somebody called Raven Tharic, or maybe it is a Raven Tharic. Maybe it's kind of like the Great Crow spirit thing that is in the Primal Fury DLC. And apparently this is serving this guy. Yeah, I've got so many questions now about this. It keeps coming up in this event chain, and I want to know more now. But I think most of the time people will end up taking just deny this and fight them so that they can get the really good reward, unless they're in a multiplayer and having some really strong, powerful stack attack a enemy at the time you want to attack them will be really helpful. Then I guess maybe you would end up taking this just for a little bit more of an immediate payoff strategically. All right, we are just now getting to the beginning of a new turn. It's been 10 turns since they said they would return, so now they're going to appear near my capital, and I can spend a bunch of gold to get some draft, or I can delay them using mana. I think since I have armies nearby, we're just going to go head up there and deal with them next turn. Shouldn't be too tricky of a fight. I've got some pretty strong guys in the area. But yeah, this will take a second because of the AI. They still have a lot of units on the map, and you got to path them across all the different goals they want to accomplish on turn 64. As you can see, they've spawned in 2 stacks. Not all of them are tier 3s or higher. There are a few tier 2s in here, but they're pretty scary units in general. It's interesting that terraformed the area that they came out of, but not what they're attacking. All right, let's go send my units up forward, up in front, and see what they can accomplish in auto combat. Yeah, this is, I think, the last fight before we get the Anka's Chosen spell, or however you say it. I'm probably saying this wrong. It's probably Onoka. And not only do we get the spell, we get a bunch of stability and some Imperium when we complete the mistwalkers. Yeah, they are just gone now. They're back in Duathadae. Don't know how to say that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I had for you in this video. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you around. Have a good one.